May 29, 1943. RAF Alconbury, England. Cold morning air rippled under B-17 wings lined across the field. But one bomber didn't belong among the rest. The ground crew stared in disbelief. A monstrous nose turret, extra side blisters, more guns than any aircraft in history. This wasn't a B-17. This was something else. A new experiment. A flying destroyer. 16.50 caliber machine guns. 11,275 rounds of ammunition. Extra armor. Extra gunners. Extra rage against the Luftwaffe. Pilots who walked past stopped and whispered, "If this thing doesn't scare Jerry, nothing will." Captain James Hartwell climbed the crew ladder, boots slipping on oil-stained metal. He was proud and nervous. No bomber commander in the history of war had ever flown a fortress built to protect fortresses. Planning rooms called it brilliant. Engineering officers called it revolutionary. Propaganda posters were already being drafted. This gunship would fly with the formation, escort them deep into Germany, and return them home safely, even as fighters tore into American bombers every single day. Months earlier, German pilots had shredded unescorted bombers over Bremen, Kiel, and Wilhelmshaven. One formation lost 26 out of 42 aircraft. Hundreds of men vaporized or captured. Someone had to change the sky. Command believed overwhelming firepower was the answer, so they created the YB-40. The flight crew soon gave it another name, the Flying Porcupine. On its very first mission, something strange happened. The German fighters dove into attack, and then pulled away suddenly, scattering. Their radios burst with panic. That nose, that firepower, that impossible number of gun barrels. Some Luftwaffe pilots were convinced it was a trap. Some thought it was a new secret fighter-bomber hybrid. All of them were confused. The gunship crew watched tracer fire split open the morning sky. A Bf-109 bank left and evaporated under a wall of .50 caliber fire. Another tried to slip beneath the belly and got shredded by twin remote-controlled guns. In the debrief room that night, bomber crews cheered. "We need more flying destroyers." Washington celebrated. Newspapers called it a turning point in the air war. Commanders dispatched the YB-40 to more missions. Then reality hit like ice. The problem wasn't firepower. It wasn't German tactic. It wasn't training. It was the simplest law of physics. Weight. The YB-40 weighed 4,000 pounds more than a standard B-17. Extra guns, extra ammo, extra armor, and those pounds turned into death sentences. See, a standard B-17 dropped its bombs halfway through the mission. The second those bomb racks emptied, the aircraft leapt forward, lighter, faster, climbing higher. But the gunship kept its weight. Every bullet still on board. Every piece of armor bolted onto the frame. Its engine strained. Its climb rate collapsed. Its speed dropped. The flying fortresses soared on, while the flying destroyer fell behind. 3 miles behind. 5 miles behind. 7 miles behind. Over enemy territory. Alone. The exact nightmare they were built to prevent. German fighters doubled back instantly, like wolves spotting the weakest deer. They swarmed the gunships that could no longer keep up. What was built to protect became bait. After one mission, a waist gunner stumbled off the plane, pale and shaking. He muttered, "We were the shield. Then we became the sacrifice." The Luftwaffe began recognizing the modified nose. A message was intercepted from a German squadron leader. "Attack the heavy fortress lab. It cannot escape." On June 22, 1943, over Hulse, the gunship broke formation again. The pilot tried everything. Maximum throttle, shallow dives, storm clouds for cover. Nothing worked. 2 YB-40s were torn apart that afternoon. One exploded. No parachutes visible. Those who returned survived on luck, not design. By the 10th mission, every pilot understood. This wasn't a revolution. It was a coffin with wings. The project was quietly canceled. The gunships were converted back into standard bombers. Mechanics scraped away the pride they had once polished. Bitter pilots walked away convinced the gunship would be forgotten. A failure stamped in red ink. But the story didn't end in humiliation, because inside the wreckage of that failed idea was the part that changed the air war. One innovation, the Bendix chin turret. That powerful, electrically driven nose weapon system eliminated the B-17's greatest weakness, head-on attack. Before the chin turret, that angle was a death sentence. German fighters lined up perfectly. One pass, one burst, 5 airmen gone. After the chin turret, everything changed. Boeing, Vega, and Douglas rushed it onto newly built bombers. 8,680 B-17 GS rolled off assembly lines with that new fang jaw. Frontal losses dropped by 71%. Crew Crews returned home. Mothers received fewer letters that started with, "We regret to inform you." Gunners celebrated a bomber that finally bit back. Not every victory in war looks like a win. Not every failure stays a failure. Sometimes, the wrong answer reveals the right solution. The skies above Germany became deadlier for the Luftwaffe because 12 failed experiments flew into danger first. Captain Hartwell once wrote in his diary, "We were too heavy to stay with the formation, but we carried the idea that saved them." When historians talk about the B-17G, they mention the turret, but not the sacrifice that proved it necessary. Yet somewhere in the ruins of Alconbury, beneath concrete and forgotten runways, is the ghost of a bomber that tried to save them all. 16 guns, 11,000 rounds, too heavy to win, too important to forget. The YB-40 didn't change the war, but it changed the bomber that did. Like, share, and subscribe for the stories the history books left behind.